So I get a lot of questions, lots of curiosity about about my business, about behind the scenes stuff. And specifically, one of the ones is people want to know how I shoot videos, how we do this, how we create these videos. And so I thought I'd just share it because there's a lot of people ask, are they scripted? Do you just go from bullet points, use a teleprompter? And the answer is no, no to all of the above. Generally, when I'm going to shoot one of these, I'll have a topic. And then once I get that overall topic and the point I want to make, then it's figuring out how to begin. And if I'm going to have problems, it's typically the first 10 seconds, the first sentence out of my mouth. So now, since I've learned that over all these videos, now I just focus on like, what is literally the first sentence I'm going to say? And then I know what the first sentence I'm going to say, I know the topic, and then I want to know the end that I'm going to bridge to. And so once I get that, it's just like turn on the camera and I can roll. Now this is just what works for me. I'm not saying it's going to be what works for you. Different people have different capabilities, different things they're comfortable with. Some people might script the entire thing out. They might use a teleprompter, or they might use bullet points and have a big whiteboard behind the camera and be looking at those bullet points. But for me, extemporaneous works. It's like going in and knowing what the topic is, as long as I get that beginning. And I do know that one of the things is a lot of times, I'll be shooting these with my son Daniel, who's my videographer, and a lot of times I'll have like this general topic, this general idea, but I'm like, Dan, I got to think about this some more. It's not gelling for me yet. I'm just not sure what it's gonna be, and I can sit there and think, and often Dan will just say, well, let's just try it, and then we just try to figure out what that first sentence is. And 95% of the time when we do that, when he pushes me to just actually push the button and start recording, they end up working out. And so that's what works for me. Knowing those first words out of my mouth, knowing the bridge that's going to take me to the end, and knowing to end and get out when it's time to get out and say, let's go get them this week. And like one other thing is like our actual shot selection, because sometimes you'll notice we've just got beautiful shots. And sometimes we have shots that are more like this, that are just not that special, it's like whatever. And so it's funny because a lot of times, I'll have sort of in my head like a list of topics, and sometimes I'll write them in my journal. These are topics that are in reserve. And that way, then if we get to one of those shots that's absolutely beautiful, like just a gorgeous light or a gorgeous setting, then I'll go to that list. Or sometimes we don't have that list, and then I'm like, okay, we got to come up with something because this is such a great shot. We need something. And then there's other times where it's just like a great idea or a good enough idea comes to me. And then it's like, well, let's make it work. Let's just find a shot, let's use some chill depth of field, blur everything out, and start it rolling. And then we end up with a shot that's probably a little bit more like this. So it's a little behind the scenes of how I create these. There's a lot less magic than you would think. And that's like one of my core themes that I keep on talking to you about, is that it's more important to put that camera on a tripod and push the record button than worrying about being perfect. And if you look back through my channel, you see plenty of imperfection. So I'm Jeff Walker. Wherever you're watching this, scroll down, leave a comment for me, and let's go get them this week.